Hi, this is State Senator Michael Moore. It's nice to see everyone again, and I'm here with your representative and my representative, Paul Frost. And we're here tonight, or this afternoon, wherever you're watching the show, to give you an overview of the enhanced gaming legislation that passed in Massachusetts. I'm sure you all know that we're currently going through the process right now of a ballot initiative that's going to be presented to the voters of town, whether we should approve slot gaming here in Millbury or not, and which we think will be taking place September 24th. And we know there's a lot of confusion out there, and so as far as the law and what's actually required of the facility, or actually even in the ballot process. So we just wanted to come on, explain the law, some of the regulations, and hopefully this will be an informative session for you. Representative Paul?
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate the opportunity of the Millbury Cable Access to allow both the Senator and I an opportunity to come before the folks here in Millbury and explain just the process. And it's the process at the state level, the process at the local level, and allow people just to understand how we got here and where it's going to go from here, and so on and so forth. So I think we just want to provide some facts. That's it. And a lot of what we might do is read right from the regulations, read right from the law, and provide information. And in fact, a lot of the information that we're providing can be found online. It can be found on the Gaming Commission's website, which we're going to show at least several times tonight on your screen, as well as an email contact and a phone number to the Gaming Commission. And what we'll start off with is just maybe a quick, brief synopsis or history, if you will, about how it all started. And as many of you know, there were several attempts to pass expanded gaming in Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the last attempt did pass and was signed into law by the governor, which established a gaming commission, a 5-member board, who I will go over right now. Right now, the 5-member board of the gaming commission, who will decide the licenses of 3 full-fledged casinos.
Which are the Category 1 licenses.
Yep, the Category 1 license. These are resort-style casinos. They are broken up into regional bids, an Eastern region, a Southeastern Mass region, and a Western Mass region. And then there's one license for a slots-only facility.
Category 2. Which is classified as the Category 2 license.
As the Senator said, the Category 2 license. And that can be bid anywhere in the state. And as folks are well aware here in the town of Millbury, Rush Gaming has reached out to the town of Millbury and has started a local process, which we'll go over, to discuss possibly bringing that facility, that gaming facility, to the town of Millbury. Now, with that being said, it's the Gaming Commission that had to set up some regulations. It's the Gaming Commission, the 5-member board, who will decide who wins what. And what I'd like to do right now is just go briefly over who the commissioners are, which again, you can visit their website and get this information. But just to give you an understanding, the chairman is Steve Crosby. He is the founding dean of McCormick Graduate School of Policy and Global Studies at UMass Boston. He was appointed by the governor. James McHugh is the secretary. He's the former associate justice of the appeals court, appointed by the attorney general. Enrique Zuniga, treasurer, former executive director of Mass Water Pollution Abatement Trust, was appointed by the state treasurer for experience in corporate finance and securities. Gail Cameron is retired as a deputy superintendent, second highest rank, with the New Jersey State Police, appointed by all 3 appointing authorities for her experience in gaming. And Bruce Stebbins previously served as business development administrator for the city of Springfield, appointed by all 3 appointing authorities. So these 5 individuals represent the Independent Gaming Commission, which has nothing to do with the legislature. The governor, the treasurer, the attorney general have no impact or influence over their decisions. They are now an independent board. Other than their being appointed, they're an independent board, and they have to come up with the regulations that we came up with the law. We passed the law, but we gave them some wiggle room to do some regulations as well that they will govern and be the final deciders on for various different things. And obviously the biggest thing they're going to decide is who gets these licenses and who gets the slot facility license the statewide license and where that will go. Is there anything you want to add before I get into the process, Mike?
I just wanted to clarify, as you were saying, that upon the creation or the appointment of the commissioners, when the legislature and the governor signed this into law, we basically established the framework, and after that, the specific details was really the authority was given to the Gaming Commission, so that they could get into the guts of the regulation and the law. Because everyone knows it's very difficult once you pass a piece of legislation to then go back and get it amended and changed. When you establish regulations, similar to what the Gaming Commission did, they actually held hearings and requested input from the public when they put together this thick document of regulations that some of them that we are going to go over. So the legislature and the administration is now been removed from the process, and this process is really now in the hands of an independent authority.
Right, and the independent authority has, this Gaming Commission has set the October 4th deadline for submissions from qualified applicants, and those applicants are those who are in the gaming industry, had to pass background checks and had to go through a series of hoops, and including having to pay a non-refundable $400,000 deposit just for the right to bid for a project. And they've announced that October 4th will be the date for final submissions. And in that part of that final submissions, the gaming, these gaming developers have to meet certain regulations. They have to meet certain requirements. And part of that requirement is working with the local community. Means coming up with a local agreement. And it also means that, which this was legislative action actually, that mandated that any such proposal had to get an affirmative vote from the voters. So it wasn't going to just be a board that was going to ultimately decide this, or town meeting members would ultimately decide it. It would be decided by the community at large through a referendum ballot. And I know the senator obviously is being a Millbury resident, is very familiar with what's been going on in town, and I'll allow him the opportunity to kind of go over the ballot process and the local process, if you will.
Well, as everyone knows, the host agreement was signed, was approved by the selectmen, which has brought us to the point where, according to the regulation, the vote has to take place 60 days from the signing of it. And again, this may be a little boring, but we want to make sure we get the specific information out on what the statute actually states. Having received a certified and binding vote on a ballot question at the election in the host community in favor of such license, provided, however, that a request for an election take place after the signing of an agreement between the host community and the applicant, which would be Rush Gaming. Provided further that upon receipt of a request for an election, the governing body of the municipality shall call for the election to be held not less than 60 days, but not more than 90 days from the date that the request was received. Provided further that the signed agreement between the host community and the applicant shall be made public with a concise summary approved by the city solicitor or town council in a periodical of general circulation on an otherwise website of the municipality not later than 7 days after the agreement was signed by the parties. Provided further that the agreement and the summary shall remain on the website until the election has been certified. Provided further that the municipality that holds an election shall be reimbursed for its expenses related to the election by the applicant within 30 days of the election. Provided further that the commission shall deny any application for a gaming license if the applicant has not fully reimbursed the community. So there's no way that the developer, if after the election the process were not to go further, the developer still has to follow through with the payment, because there also is language in this that allows for the town to seek treble damages in court proceedings. And also just wanted to, I think everyone's familiar too with before the developer can move forward with the application, they actually have to pass an investigation by the Gaming Commission.
Right.
So the investigation that was conducted involves looking at the following criteria: the integrity, honesty, and good character and reputation of the applicant, the financial stability, integrity, and background of the applicant, the business practices, and the business ability of the applicant to establish and maintain successful gaming establishment, whether the applicant has a history of compliance with gaming licensing requirements in other jurisdictions, whether the applicant at the time of the application is a defendant in litigation involving its business practices, the suitability of all parties' interests in the gaming license, including affiliates and close associates, and the financial resources of the applicant, and whether the applicant is disqualified from receiving a license under Section 16 provided. However, that in considering the rehabilitation of an applicant for a gaming license, the Commission shall not automatically disqualify an applicant if the applicant affirmatively demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the applicant has financial responsibility, character, reputation, integrity, general fitness as such to warrant belief by the Commission that the applicant will act honestly, fairly, soundly, and efficiently as a gaming licensee. So that when I think it was about a month ago, or over the past several weeks, we've seen the Gaming Commission approved the developer that's seeking a license in Millbury, and they also actually disqualified one for, was it Raynham or Plain Ridge?
Yeah, it wasn't Raynham. I think Raynham has been approved.
All right, there was one that was pending in Plain. The developer there did not meet that criteria, and the Gaming Commission did not approve his suitability to be a developer for gaming, slots parlor or gaming facility in Massachusetts.
And I think let's go over, because this is a question that we have received, which has been about how the, when you did talk about it again, but just kind of reemphasize that with the ballot question, which was the ballot question as it appears in the ballot is and you just read it, right? But is something that has to be a summary of the local aid agreement,
right?
And that is placed on the ballot, so it is not something that people can just arbitrarily decide what the question is. It's specifically laid out that the question must.
The ballot question shall be accompanied by the ballot by a fair, concise summary of the host community agreement as defined by the city solicitor or the town council.
And the vote taken is, you either vote yes to approve or no.
Not in favor, yes in favor, and no not in favor of the facility.
And that election will be Tuesday, September 24th, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And again, that's Tuesday, September 24th. The polls in Millbury are open up from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., where the Millbury voters will basically decide whether or not they wish to have a gaming facility such as this in their community. Even if the vote passes, however, it still has to go on to the Gaming Commission and be filed by October 4th, the total application by Rush Gaming, and then it has to compete with other folks going for that Class 2 license. So Class 2 gaming license. So it's a vote in favor doesn't guarantee it's coming, because it still has to go through a whole other part of the process. And which I believe, according to the information that the Gaming Commission has been providing, is I think it's their hope, their intention, to make that decision by the end of the calendar year. So that will be further in the process. One of the other things that what we did get a question on out there, and I thought it was a very good question, was local funds that are going to be received in the local agreement. Are they impacted by funds that would be for mitigation for the host community or surrounding communities? Because in the law it provides provisions for surrounding communities to perhaps receive some mitigation funds if a gaming facility is going to be located in the community. And the question I know I received, I think the senator may have received it as well, was folks were concerned that could the local agreement money, could local agreement funds be used for mitigation to other communities? And our understanding of that is no. Mitigation funds is a separate process. It is a separate fund. It has nothing to do with the local agreement. So if the host community, in this case being Millbury, and surrounding communities have issues that warrant mitigation, there's a separate fund that they would apply for, and there might be arbitration involved or some back and forth going involved, but that would be worked out. So if Millbury needed money for something else, that would be another process for it, as well as for surrounding communities. But it wouldn't impact the local agreement of between the town of Millbury and Rush Gaming, or any host community and the developer.
Yeah, looking at the statute and the regulations, it actually reads as if the town could receive additional support through the community mitigation fund that's created. That the agreement that's legally and binding that's signed between Rush Gaming and the community of Millbury wouldn't be affected by that, but possibly the town could actually seek additional mitigation funds through this mitigation fund that's established in the gaming law.
Now, under the gaming law, we provided ways on how the state was going to divvy up the money it receives from all the gaming facilities. So the slot facility, the full-fledged casino facilities, the resort-style casino facilities. So the 4 gaming facilities, once they're up and running, and the legislation that was passed, it basically broke up how that money was going to go and what it was going to go towards. And Senator, if you have that up, yep. Why don't you provide that information?
We actually created quite a few funds, or dedicated revenue sources, with this legislation. The first, and actually this is in Section 59 of the general laws for the Act Expanding Gaming. 100% of the revenue received from Category 2 licensees shall be transferred to the Gaming Local Aid Fund established. 100% of the then there's 100% of the revenue received from the Category 1 also, but that wouldn't apply to what we're talking about here. 2% of the revenues to Massachusetts Cultural Council, which 1/4 of the revenues received shall be dedicated to the organization support program of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and 3/4 of the revenues shall be dedicated to support not-for-profit and municipally owned performing arts centers impacted as a result of operations gaming facilities, provided, however, that the funds dedicated to such performing arts centers shall be subsidized fees paid to touring shows, artists, and provided further that funding shall be appropriate through a competitive grant process to be developed and administered by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Now, reading that, I don't know if the Ace of Waters Mansion and some of the programs that they provide could possibly seek grants through that, if it's part of the Cultural Council fund. So that's something that, whether this comes here or not, that's something that...
right, well, and that would be, my understanding is this is going into the state portion of funds. Right. So this is not...
Oh, it's not coming back to town. This is something that
this is not Millbury's local agreement funds. This is funds that the state takes in, and then how they're going to distribute those funds in the state budget.
Correct. Right. Then there's 1% to the Massachusetts Tourism Fund to fund tourist promotion agencies. And then we have 6, and this is the Community Mitigation Fund that we just talked about. Then there's 6.5% to the Community Mitigation Fund. Then we have 4.5% going to the Local Capital Projects Fund. Then we have 20% going to the Gaming Local Aid Fund. Then we have 10% going to the Commonwealth Stabilization Fund. Then we have the Commonwealth Stabilization Fund, that's
the Rainy Day Fund. Yeah.
The Rainy Day Fund. 14% to the Education Fund. Now, the Education Fund, that's money that's going to go through dedicated to K through 12 and higher education. And it's monies that have to go. It can't be to supplant reductions in funding. It has to be above and beyond level funding. Then we have 9.5% going to the Gaming Economic Development Fund, and 10% shall be used for debt reduction through debt feasance and accelerated debt payments. And also money from this is to go to the pension fund to help reduce the unfunded liability that the state currently has. Then 15% is to go to the Transportation Infrastructure and Development Fund, 5% to the Public Health Trust Fund, and then 2.5% is to go to a Racehorse Development Fund.
And just to explain the Racehorse Development Fund, What that does is that ends up helping a lot of horse farms and breeders who are in Massachusetts, and helps maintain that industry, so to speak, because there's great concern that if that wasn't there, then a lot of the horsing industry in our state would go by the wayside, and these horse farms would be turned into developments, and it would be less open space, less farmland, if you will, even, and so this has a positive environmental impacts as well, other than just the name itself.
And also economic impact.
Yeah, and economic impact as well. Yes.
And actually, going back to the community mitigation fund, just so you know how the statute defines this, the commission shall administer the fund, and without further appropriation shall expend monies in the fund to assist the host community and surrounding communities in offsetting costs related to the construction and operation of gaming establishment, including, but not limited to, communities and water and sewer districts in the vicinity of a gaming establishment, local and regional education, transportation, infrastructure, housing, environmental issues, public safety issues, including the office of the county district attorney, police, fire, and emergency services. The commission may, as it may, at its discretion, distribute funds to a governmental entity or district other than a single municipality in order to implement a mitigation measure that affects more than one municipality, provided, however, that such entity or district shall submit a written request for funding in the same manner as a municipality would be required to submit. So that's when we're talking about the host community agreement that the town has signed with the developer is separate from this fund, and based on that language, it seems as if the town could also apply, if there's other costs that come up, the town may be able to pursue that avenue in seeking additional funding.
And just adding to that as well, part of the fee infrastructure, there, for example, for the Type 2 license, the so-called slot parlors, if you will, or slot-only gaming facilities, one of their additional fees is not less than $5 million to provide programs that deal with compulsive gambling and other addictions. Yeah. So that is something that actually comes out of an annual fee that they pay the state that will go right dedicated for those causes as well. So a lot of what the state is taking in has already been kind of like spoken for and where it's going to go. And some of that's going to go back to local aid, it's going to go back to road projects, it's going to go back to education, public health, public safety, and a bunch of other factors that the senator already went over. And that's the state, what the state takes in from all the gaming facilities combined, licenses, revenue, what have you, and how it's going to get distributed back. And
also going along with that, with what the representative talked about, we have in the gaming legislation for the facility, they have to provide complimentary on-site space for an independent substance abuse, compulsive gambling, mental health counseling service, and establish a program to train gaming employees in the identification and the intervention with customers exhibiting problem gaming behavior. So to go along with the funding, they're also mandated to provide these services. At the site.
Right, on site. Yeah, on these on-site services. While we're on the topic of public safety, obviously, I think I know some of this has already been disseminated throughout the community for as far as information goes, but as far as who's responsible for policing what, and in the legislation, it would be established that on the site, on the facility itself, the state police would be responsible. Right. For that, and I know you have some of that written language, as well. Yeah, if you want to go over that.
The first section, we have the Colonel of the State Police shall establish a gaming enforcement unit, the responsibilities which shall include, but not limited to, the investigation of criminal violations of Chapter 23K or other general or special law pertaining to gaming. The gaming enforcement unit shall work in conjunction and cooperation with the Investigations Enforcement Bureau within the Massachusetts Gaming Commission to enforce Chapter 23K, with the Division of Gaming Enforcement within the Department of the Attorney General to investigate criminal activity related to gaming. Officers and employees of the unit shall be assigned to the Investigations and Enforcement Bureau and shall report to the Deputy Director of Investigations and Enforcement to the Colonel and to the Colonel of the State Police. The Colonel shall also assign officers to the unit, to the Division of Gaming Enforcement, who shall report to the Chief of the Gaming Enforcement and to the Colonel of the State Police. No officer of the unit, other than in the performance of official duties, shall place a wager in a gaming establishment under license. And they're also required that shall apply that the Colonel shall have a program for rotating officers in and out of this specialized unit. We also know that there was relating to some other public safety language I can go over, but we also know there's an issue with alcohol enforcement. The language requires the Commissioner of the Division of Alcohol Beverage Control Commission,
Otherwise known as ABCC.
ABCC, shall establish a gaming liquor enforcement unit whose responsibilities shall include enforcing, regulating, and controlling the distribution of alcoholic beverages in the gaming establishment. The gaming liquor enforcement unit shall work in conjunction in cooperation with the Investigations and Enforcement Bureau within the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. The Commissioner shall assign investigators and employees to the unit, employees of the unit to the Bureau, who shall work with the Director of the Bureau and to the Commissioner, provided, however, that the Massachusetts Gaming Commission shall designate the number of investigators, employees necessary to staff the unit. And they shall handle all, the investigators and employees shall handle all the investigations. So we're addressing the state police, the unit assigned there.
And we assign there, and actually we'll have space
Yeah.
inside the facility dedicated to the state police, as well as you already mentioned, for substance abuse and mental health services that are needed for folks who are going to the facility.
Yeah. Okay. As far as investigations go, we have there shall be within the Commission an Investigations and Enforcement Bureau, which shall be a primary enforcement agent for regulatory matters under this chapter. The Bureau shall perform such functions as the Chair may determine in relation to enforcement, including the investigation of the licensees under this chapter. The Bureau shall be under the supervision and control of the Deputy Director of Investigations and Enforcement. The Deputy Director shall be the executive and administrative head of the Bureau for administering and enforcing the laws relative to the Bureau and each administrative unit of the Bureau. Officers and employees of the Gaming Enforcement Unit of the State Police assigned to the Commission, which be under Section 70 of Chapter 22C, shall work with the employees of the Bureau under the direction of the Deputy Director to investigate violations of this chapter by the licensee or to investigate any activity taking place on the premises of the gaming establishment. Officers assigned to work with the Bureau shall record their time and hours that they're working there. The Gaming Enforcement Unit within the Department of State Police shall have exclusive jurisdiction over any criminal activity relating to the operation of the gaming establishment or relating to gaming or gaming that occur inside the gaming establishment, provided, however, that the State Police shall have concurrent jurisdiction with the law enforcement agency of the host community on all other policing matters. The Commission, in consultation with the Colonel of the State Police, shall facilitate the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the law enforcement agency of the host community that shall include, but not be limited to, procedures involving the assignment of police officers of the host community to the Gaming Enforcement Unit of the State Police, first responder calls for the gaming establishment, emergencies occurring within the gaming establishment, including the gaming area, and criminal investigations involving employees or patrons of the gaming establishment. Investigations and employees of the Gaming Liquor Enforcement Unit of the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission assigned to the Commission shall work with the employees of the Bureau and work under the direction of the Deputy Director to enforce, regulate, control distribution of the gaming establishment. And
Now, with you having your policing background, that language is just basically saying that there's a process here for the state police can work with the local police department, and that there's on certain matters they can work together, and there's no there won't be problems or issues communicating.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, when they talk about exclusive jurisdiction and concurrent, exclusive jurisdiction basically means that it's only enforceable by the state police. Concurrent means that the state police and the local police have the same authority to enforce those laws. And based on the language, there's going to have to be basically a contract signed between the two parties on all the enforcement responsibilities that are going to take place on the property.
So I take that means like a local police officer, wherever a facility may be, notices something wrong, they have the ability of taking action.
Yes.
Even though it's not their quote jurisdiction. If you said if it was exclusive, then they'd have to call the state police to come deal with it.
Correct. Yep.
And this way, they see something, they can deal with it.
Yep.
And I think the other area we wanted to touch on was, and again, this is a concern. People talk about this when they go to other places in other states.
Cover that.
Is yeah, sure. Go ahead. Why don't you do that, and then we'll get to the. No, go ahead, and then we'll go to the issue with some concerns with minors.
Okay, again, this is still regarding the public safety aspect. The legislation allows the commission or the division and the state police officers assigned to the commission or the division to conduct warrantless searches of the licensee's gaming area. It also provided an office that they have to provide an office for the commission at the gaming establishment and the designated state police unit at the gaming establishment unit, provided, however, that the commission shall establish minimum requirements for square footage of the state police office, furnishing and parking places. Yeah, so searches. I couldn't get that word out of there.
So, and then I think another concern we hear, and we've heard about it in other gaming, other places. People go to other states, and they is people leaving their minor children in their cars while they go into the gaming establishment. And in fact, in the law, we address that. And if you want to talk about that as well.
Again, the language in the statute requires the gaming facility, requires its security personnel to conduct regular checks of parking areas for minors left in motor vehicles and immediately report any such finding to the local and state police in the municipality wherein the gaming establishment is located. So so you will have the local police will have jurisdiction. You'll have the state police with exclusive and concurrent with local police. And this also basically requires that the gaming facility is going to have their own security personnel that's going to have to be doing some patrolling or monitoring of their property.
Very good. And then, and also it's clear, that it's going to be only those who are ages 21 and over are going to be allowed to game. So if you're under 21, sorry, you're not going to be allowed to game inside the facility. So they are going to have that. And that kind of gets us to another question that came up in the public hearing. It's come up a few other times around town. I've talked to folks, and I know you heard it as well, and that is the use of EBT cards at gaming facilities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I know I've emphatically told people that that's a big no. They cannot use them. But it is covered in the law itself, specifically mentioned. I know folks who are maybe having, let's say, EBT cards or aren't supposed to be using them there anyway. They're told they're not supposed to, and it's against the law for them to do that. But also, it is mentioned in our gaming laws as well. If you want to cover that and other types of issues that might come up.
Again, as Paul stated, the under 21, you cannot. There's no wagering. Matter of fact, if you win, they are restricted from giving you the winnings. So if you're under 21, you place a bet, or anyone places a bet for you, they're restricted from giving you your winnings. But as far as the EBT cards go, the Commission shall, in consultation with the Department of Transitional Assistance, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Department of Housing and Community Development, or applicable administering agencies, establish regulations, procedures, and standards to prohibit gaming establishments or any person acting on behalf of a gaming establishment from cashing a government issued check from operating on its premises any credit card or automatic teller machine that would allow a patron to obtain cash from a government-issued electronic benefit transfer card, from extending or issuing credit to a patron of a gaming establishment who receives any form of income-based public assistance, including but not limited to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, temporary assistance for needy families, emergency aid to elders, disabled and children, public housing assistance, mass health, unemployment insurance. The procedure and standards established here shall ensure the privacy of all patrons. And we also have, except facilities are also prohibited from, except as otherwise authorized by the Commission through regulations of this chapter, which is there's no contrary regulations to what this following language. No gaming establishment or any person acting on behalf of the gaming establishment shall cash any check, make any loan, or otherwise provide or allow a person any credit or advance anything of value or which represents value to enable that person to place a wager or release or discharge any debt, either in whole or in part, or make any loan which represents any losses incurred by a player in gaming or simulcast wagering activity. Okay, so that covers I think there was some concern that people would be able to utilize mortgages on their homes and other things of other value from the gaming facility. So that strictly by statute prohibits those types of activities.
Right, and again, just to be clear on the EBT card situation, is that so not only can they not use their EBT card, a person can use the EBT card with the establishment to get funds to go play games or what have you. They cannot even use it at an ATM in the facility. So they can't go use it at the ATM in the facility and then take the money and then walk right over and start playing games. So.
And the statute also allows for a family member or someone to put someone's name on an exclusion list. A person may petition the Commission to place the person's name on a list of persons to whom extensions of credit by a gaming establishment shall be prohibited. Any person filing such petitions shall submit to the Commission the person's name, address, and date of birth. The person shall not be required to provide a reason for the request. The Commission shall provide this list to the credit department of each gaming establishment, provided, however, that neither the Commission nor the credit department of the gaming establishment shall divulge the names on this list to any person or entity other than those in this subsection. So it even allows, so if you're a family member or and you have concern of someone who you think may have a gambling issue, you can actually try to take action and help that member.
And people can also sometimes, and they'll do it, some people will even, where our understanding is some people even voluntarily even put their own name on it, and as well, that does happen. So again, I think that is most of the overview that we have here as far as the various aspects, some questions that we've heard, but as well as just the process. Obviously here in Millbury, I know there were questions why did the legislature make it such a short process. Well, the legislature didn't make a short process. The legislature, again, left the Gaming Commission some leeway to when they were ready to start the process, and they started the process some time ago. In this situation here in the town of Millbury, the developer that's currently seeking to do business here was actually looking at a neighboring community, and that didn't work out. And before all these deadlines kind of hit, so that they could get, they looked at a neighboring community and they found interest in the town of Millbury, and there I think most of the folks here in the community already know that history.
Yeah, actually, I think they looked at Auburn and Millbury.
Yep, they looked at couple communities. I think Auburn was one of them as well, and then they looked at Millbury and decided this is where they would like to make a bid and see if they can get the community to come along board with them in this project. So now, that what it ultimately comes down to, as I said in the beginning, we were very, very particular that this legislation would have a ballot question initiative as a part of it, so that no community and no other, by the way, no other business, if they meet all the requirements, has to go
through
with
this
an acceptance
additional step,
into this additional step of going on a ballot question. So they will still have to meet all the standards of the planning board, local zoning laws, and if they need anything, they have to go to the zoning board of appeals or what have you. They still have to go through a local process like anybody else.
Yeah, they have to follow all the requirements, MEPA requirements, environmental standards. They have to meet all those standards. But the one issue that's pending right now is
at the time we're taping this anyway.
Yeah, it's, right now, which is August 20th. They have to go back before the planning board. The parcels of property, I believe, are zoned commercial industrial, but they have to meet the definition of what they are looking for would fall underneath, I believe it's entertainment. Now, to get that special permit, they have to get a 4/5 vote, I believe, of the planning board. So that's actually what's pending before the planning board, is that aspect of it. And if, depending on how the planning board votes, I guess really would determine the action of whether this really would go forward now for a vote to the townspeople to see if they want this in Millbury or not.
And even afterwards, though, they still have to.
Right. If upon the approval of the planning board, then the town vote would be the one that would determine, obviously, the opinion of the town in favor or opposed to this. Then it goes to the Gaming Commission. But as the representative said, this is truly one project that it needs community support, whether it's going to be here or not. There's so many projects. If you look at the mall, you look at any sort of business entity that comes into a community, you don't need the voter approval. This is one of the only ones I know that I think in my 8 years as an elected official and now in the legislature. And actually, Senator Channel and I, there's one section in here requiring this in cities with populations over 125,000 people. It was our amendment that actually required allowed the cities to put it out to a vote. That's how important I think it is. And I think everyone in the legislature's opinion is that it has to have community support. If a community doesn't want this type of facility here, then it shouldn't be here. But it really is. It's up to the voters now in the community.
Right, and again, that election is going to be Tuesday, September the 24th. And the polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Again, that's Tuesday, September 24th. And as folks get out there, we hope we just provided you some information. We hope that we just gave you the facts of what's in the law, what's in the regulations, try to answer some of the questions and concerns that are out there, at least concerning the documents that we have and what the Gaming Commission has to make decisions about, and how these facilities have to operate. But it's ultimately up to the voters to make the decision whether this is a good deal for Millbury or not. And you have to be well informed. I hope we provided you some information. And I hope that everybody here in the town of Millbury expresses their opinion on what should be done, because the decision is up to you. And you need to vote on Tuesday, September 24th. I know I keep saying it, but we'll keep saying it, and hopefully they'll put that on the screen as well here for us. But Tuesday, September 24th, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. is your vote, and please make sure you get out and vote.
And I'm sure the representative would be willing to do this. If there's, we've gone through topics that we know have come up. If there's other issues with the law or other issues coming up that between now and September 24th, please feel free to contact our offices. If we have to come back on and do another segment like this just to clarify certain aspects of the laws or the regulations, just let us know. I'm sure we.
Right, and we can provide again. You know, I know we've both been reached out. We can provide our information. And we will put that on the screen as well for our individual contacts to our offices and to ourselves. And so if there's anything we can look up for you or get back to you, we're glad to do that. And we encourage you again. We will have it put back up. The information that you can provide, you can reach out to the Gaming Commission itself if you want to go directly there. The website, their phone number, their email address, if you have any questions or comments you want to provide them. And because, again, at the end of the day, if the town of Millbury votes to pass this on Tuesday, September 24th, and it meets all the other local criteria through the rest of the local process, it's ultimately the Gaming Commission that's going to decide this in the end. So thank you very much for your time. I hope we provided you some information and cleared up things in some regards. And we're here for you along the process to provide you any other information that you may need. So on behalf of myself, I'm Representative Frost.
Senator Moore.
Thank you very much,
you.
and good luck with going through this process and deciding what the next step for Millbury should be.
Thank you.